The number one comment that I get on my videos whenever I post a pro VOD review or I'm looking at some really good player or some crazy fighter is show what beginners do wrong. So that's what this video is going to be completely focused on. I'm going to be showing a bunch of different players all at different skill levels that aren't necessarily pros just yet and showing what they do wrong and how to fix those mistakes. Each one of these 10 mistakes I'm going to be showing you will help you massively improve in FNCS, so hopefully you can have your best FNCS ever. Please leave a like on the video, and before we get into it, click the link below to go check out the FNCS Masterclass and go ahead and get a free gift as well while you do so. Click the link below and let's get into the video with mistake number 1 for early game. Our very first mistake, and I see so many players doing this, is not having a good off-spawn plan or preparation put in. You guys need to figure out exactly where you're going to be going for, how you're going to be jumping out of the bus, and knowing exactly what markers you're going to hit, or just ideally have a drop map prepared so you're always going to have the same off-spawn. It's really about the consistency game to game that's going to help you win. So many times people end up doing what this guy over here is doing, which is just sort of eyeballing a drop for a floor spawn that changes depending on the bus, and that's just going to lead to you dying out the air and wasting an entire game of your FNCS. Do not make that mistake. Our second mistake is a really common one, which is not being confident. A lot of players, especially when it comes to a big tournament like an FNCS, tend to get scared. They tend to play really passive. When somebody pushes them, they try to disengage. You cannot approach the game this way. No matter what your loot is, no matter your situation is, you should always be trying to play confident and trying to play somewhat aggressive on somebody, and never allow yourself to be too passive, because that's just how you go down in preventable situations. Like right here, they're getting pushed by a duo and they both decide to disengage back to their base rather than just exerting some pressure and shooting back at the other team. And of course, they go down and die within the first 5 minutes of the game right here. Of course, this is their first Cash Cup finals, so you can't really blame them, but you guys need to use this as a lesson to not be making these same mistakes. What I'd really recommend doing if you guys aren't too confident at duos is just before the tournament starts, go play some games of duo ranked with you and your duo. Practice fighting, using your comms, how you're going to be approaching boxes and how you're going to be playing together in a ranked game where there's basically zero pressure and you can go ahead and just W key and have fun with your teammate. And then when you go ahead and queue into the tournament, of course, first game, you're going to be trying to get a big game, and then from there, you're going to be able to keep that same confidence going for the rest of the time and make sure you're playing good. It really does help just playing some ranked before a cup and getting used to fighting with the in-game lag and with your teammate as well. Our next mistake is a very common one with beginner level players, is not using map control. These guys are in a really good position to split base, so one of them can go build a brick box next to this brick and refarm it, the other one can stay in their cash box, and they'd actually control this entire area of zone, force everybody away from them, and then be in a really good position as zone decides to close. Instead, they decide to rotate to dead center of zone where the island spawns. And of course, there's no island points, there's no need to do this. And this means that later on, because they go towards the center, they're going to be a lot more congested. Always think about how you can position yourself in a power position where you can refarm, and then you can go ahead and be in a really good situation where you have the whole area to yourself. You can force other people away, you can shoot people away. Instead, they end up boxing here down on a rift, and they're just in a scuffed position for the rest of the game, which eventually leads to them being killed. So as you can see, instead of holding this edge, forcing everyone away from them and staying in this position and then having a free rotate to this max zone, instead they've decided to go ahead, put themselves in congested side. There's about 8 other teams on the map here with them, and of course, if they're going to rift, how they're going to be on a congested side, they're not going to be able to use dead side later on, and they're not going to be able to get a free timing rotate into zone. Our next mistake is really common even with really good high placing duos, is overcomplicating rotates. As you can see, these guys have got a really max distance rotate straight up to the north, and there is a very simple path to follow, as you can see, which is the white line into zone. All you need to do is catch a nice timing where that white line is free. However, these guys decide to overcomplicate this way more. They decide to stop, pause for a second, so they don't really have good scouting opportunities, they can't figure out where they're going, and then they wrap fully through dead side and actually end up burning way more mats and heals by going fully through dead side, because of course, as they come to zone, because they've spent way too much time running in the open rather than just going in a straight line like this team is doing, now they're in a situation where they're getting pinched from both sides. There's a player, there's a team shooting them in the back, and there's a team holding them from the front, and they're going to go through all of the hills as they come to zone. The most simple rotate is normally going to be the most easy one to do, and also most likely the safest and smartest thing to execute. One really big mistake to avoid in FNCS is your timing for when you're rotating to the 8th zone. Do not go early. That just means that you're going to be in a situation where you're wasting mats tarping in, because of course this zone plays completely out of the previous zone. It's basically at the earlier moving zone of the current meta. So what you want to do is wait for zone to fully close in, like this team does here, and start actually shrinking. Then you want to use your double grappler, the meta loadout that you can use, and go ahead and rotate at least twice with the grappler. And then what I'd recommend doing, honestly, is just pausing. Just box up at a spot, you can refarm this tree, let these other players rotate in for you, let them build and let them get shot by other players, and then catch a nice timing when you've probably got a grappler charge recharge. So you've got 3 grapplers to go in and get on a high layer in a good situation. As you can see, this duo, they sort of do this, but they mess up. They go out of zones, actually go even further away from zone, not just white lining in, and they put themselves on edge, which might look alright, but of course, this leads to them getting looked at by this team that's following them in, trying to pressure them to go in front of them. And now, of course, they're going to be the last ones rotating in. Whenever you're the last one rotating in, you need to make sure that you play on the edge of zones so you can't get lobby focused. This team makes a huge mistake, which is waiting too long. They're using all of their jizz juice to actually get out to full HP rather than prioritizing getting in early. And now, of course, when they land, what's going to happen? They're going to put themselves in a situation where there is multiple people who can spray them. There's a team back here, there's a team below them, there's a team over this way, there's a team there, there's even a team on this side that can possibly shoot them. They put themselves between a load of different teams, not on the edge of zone, and of course they're going to get sprayed and lose all of their HP and possibly go down in this situation. To recap, rotate as zone closes in on 8 zone and try to pause for around 10 seconds on the rotate so you get a free rotate into zone. During endgames, one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not scouting out and not pre-planning what their rotate is going to be to their teammate. As an IGL, you always need to be going ahead and looking through your code and scouting out how you're going to do your rotate. So many times I see people, they'll either get a refresh like these guys just did, or they'll go ahead and just be in a congested area and they'll just panic and rush the rotate. They'll whack open and edit and they'll both start winging it, and of course you're both going to do separate rotates. Pre-plan out your rotate to avoid being in scuff situations like this. This guy could have easily got full boxed and pieced and died multiple times on that one rotate, and of course because they haven't planned it, his teammate is completely split from him. He's way far backside, he's getting shot by everybody, he's going to waste loads of mats, he's going to be in very risky positions the whole way through this rotate. He should have died there, and right here. I don't even know what he's doing because of all of that is coming from not pre-planning. What you should do, for example, here is when you're paused in zone like this, is go ahead and look through your cone, scout out where zone is pulling, and then go ahead and find a timing that's going to be nice to rotate. Again, you're going to see these guys do not pre-plan what they're doing. They both just sit in a box, no visibility, no awareness on what's going on, and then whack open a wide edit and start rotating. And of course, whenever you do this, this is what happens, is you rotate, put yourself in a bad spot, and you get jumped in on and die to somebody else. This next mistake is really minor, but you guys need to avoid it in FNCS. I have seen Tier 1 pros lose out over $100,000 and not win an FNCS because they've made this mistake. So right here, you can see the start of it. It's a nice little full box, gets a free kill on this guy running along this wall, and what's going to happen is he gets the loot. Of course, this is perfectly fine. But his teammate, who is in the same box, is not tarping forward. He's just sitting there watching and looking at the loot going, oh, this is a shiny mythic, oh, there's a big part I can pick up. Whenever you're in these situations endgame, whoever's not getting the refresh and not getting the loot, normally the guy who gets the kill should be the one getting the loot. The other one, despite the fact that he's got 17 builds, he should be tarping forward. He should be claiming this space. He should be getting towards this hill, maybe even cutting off this other player and putting himself in a better position to rotate for the rest of the zone. He should not be standing there looking at all the loot and picking up, because of course now what is going to happen, this guy is going to go ahead, get cat mats from the refresh, and he's going to do a very challenging rotate, right? There's a lot of scuffness here, he's on a lot of walls that aren't his, he has to run around and storm, and he's going to get away with it because of course he's the first one rotating, he's solo, it's completely fine. However, his teammate, who is now doubled back in storm to get all the shiny loot, pick up the mythic AR, he has decided to follow the same rotate, which he should have sort of built up earlier and continued tarping earlier. And now what's going to happen is he's put himself in a situation where he's on somebody's wall and there's a duo with a floor edit below him, and he's going to get full pieced and die and lose the game and not qualify for FNCS. Make sure you guys avoid that mistake. If you guys are enjoying this video and you are serious about doing well this FNCS, go check out the link below. Just watching the 5-minute video alone will genuinely help you so much about understanding the difference between yourself as a sort of intermediate comp player who wants to get better and the Tier 1 pros that are qualifying for every single event. Click the link below and check out the FNCS Masterclass. It's going to get updates the whole way through this FNCS as well as every single FNCS for the rest of this year. It's a very good investment. So many players have already got crazy results from it so far. These are two of the most common endgame mistakes that lots of duos make. I'm sure you guys have probably made this without even realizing it. So the first one that these guys do is they don't automatically do things for their teammate without being told to. So especially when you're in an endgame situation where it's quite hectic, like these guys are in now, they're in third moving, they go ahead and do a nice low ground claim while one of them needs to heal up. Really nice play to do that. However, right here, huge mistake, as he doesn't automatically drop mats to his teammate, so the guy who's going to heal doesn't drop mats to his teammate automatically, and the teammate just sort of pauses, starts farming the tree, but he doesn't claim the space on low ground. You can see they're in a really nice position. They should drop down one more layer and keep on staying front side and cutting off of these other players. Because of this sort of 5 seconds where they're paused in a box just popping a mini, look how many people cut off low ground versus them. They do end up finding a nice refresh right here. Of course, now low ground is completely taken from them, and that nice position they did have is completely gone away, and they've taken, again, loads of damage getting that refresh. Now, the next mistake that a lot of people make during endgame is panicking just after they get a refresh, and they're actually in a good situation of mats, right? They've got decent mats, however they tend to panic. What I would really recommend doing is just pausing and trying to find a nice edge spot where you can play, especially because these guys both had medkits that they can play. I would recommend just pausing as you expand up and going ahead and just waiting and seeing what's available for you, right? Let's say they pause right here in this box, they can replace the floor afterwards, then they would spot, oh, we can actually cut off low ground around this way. But instead, they completely panic. He runs up towards height, and now he is worried about being second height and getting sprayed by the height players. And what he ends up doing is going forward, editing down, getting one pumped, and he's just wasted 3 med kits, 500 mats, and now his teammates left to clutch up in a really shambles position where he's not going to get the most placement. Always do things for your teammates automatically so you can help them out without them even needing to say it. So whenever you're paused, whenever you're boxed up, drop your teammate mats. Go ahead and keep on continuing the Tarp front side. Just do it automatically so you're always in a good position. And then remember, endgame, when you're tarping, always try to stick to the fundamentals, which is being edge as well as being front side, right? And then not being on a bad layer. Right now, this is a really bad layer because it's way too late in the game and he's trying to solo clutch on second height. It's just not going to work out. You need to be playing a lower layer at this point in time, or ideally go ahead and try to be on low ground with the amount of mats that these guys did have before they went down. Our next mistake is actually one that people do the whole time whenever there's a new mobility item out, is they completely forget how to rotate on foot. As you can see here, it's actually a fairly easy rotate if you were to do this on foot. All you would do is just edit up, block your top, and then you've got a free layer to rotate through right there. Really nice, and you can probably find a couple of refreshes from that layer. However, because these guys are just focusing on grappling around the entire game, they end up doing some awful grapple, take loads of storm, goes for now a really bad high layer, accidentally start panicking and left clicking, and they take a load of damage from that, which they're not really going to be able to get back. At this point in time, they've got no more med kits, and this is their last extra shield that they've got, apart from minis. And this leads me to my next mistake, which is a really common one, which is over-greeding for refreshes, or over-committing for refreshes. As you can see, these guys think, oh, we need to find a refresh. However, they still have over 500 mats as a duo, and they're in final moving. There's no need to force a refresh. They should look for a refresh, but they shouldn't be tanking and fighting people backside in storm. As you can see here, they spot the potential refresh. One of them hits a 38 pump, and he overcommits into loads of old builds, misses his right and peak, and his teammate's not actually with him. Of course, his teammate's in somebody else's box, getting jumped on by duo, and they both go down. They throw an easy top 5, but even probably a top 3 that game, because they're overcommitting for refreshes, and they're not just foot rotating and tarping really simply. The last mistake in this video is going to be a really costly one that I want you guys to avoid, and it will basically just prevent you from winning games that you should be winning. So as you can see, there's a team on mid ground that's on a high layer, and there's a team on high ground. However, the team on mid ground isn't getting pressured at all or shot at by height. Height, as you can see, is doing one massive mistake that you guys probably don't even realize. Is they're tarping in the middle of zone, right? They're tarping straight through the middle. So as zone pulls like this, what are they going to do? They've actually blocked off their visibility from the second height team. They are going to go ahead and actually shoot, as you can see here. They're going to shoot this team that's on front side. However, this team's not possible to take height. They're too low down, and these guys are too high up, right? So as you can see, shoots a little bit. However, he's completely unaware of the actual height threat, which is this mid-ground team on second height. And they do a really nice high ground retake. They spot where the high ground teams actually drop down as third moving pulls, and they both double grappler onto backside of height, and they're able to take height for free and go ahead and win the game from there. Always make sure you're tarping on the right hand side of the zone, and do not save your AR for the next game. Go ahead and use your AR, spray non-stop, and you're going to get free high ground holds where people can't even look up to try to take it from you.